and a member of Congress who is trying to help.
Retired Air Force Major Sergeant Brian Graves says he was exposed to burn pits during his deployments overseas during the early to mid-2000s. Members of the military burned trash and other items in burn pits at overseas military bases.
At the time, we really didn't think much of it. Okay, they're burning trash.
Fast forward 2 years later, Graves, who now lives in Yorktown, says he experiences a lot of respiratory issues and needs 2 inhalers. He attributes the health problems to exposure to the burn pits.
Every morning I wake up, my chest is tight and my throat is, it's like it's closed up a little bit.
But it's been an issue for the VA to recognize veterans like Graves. Local Congresswoman ELAINE LURIA has introduced a bill to help get these veterans the coverage they need. She says in the past decade or so, about 14,000 veterans filed disability claims for exposure to burn pits, but only about 4,000 claims were granted. Graves didn't even apply because of the high denial rate.
These are people who served our country, who were willing to pay the ultimate sacrifice in defense of our country, and we need to take care of them.
Today, the House Committee on Veterans Affairs held a hearing on a series of bills that would provide help for veterans who've been exposed to toxic substances.
And the VA has really been slow to take their concerns, to correlate that service in those areas and the toxic exposure to these health conditions.
During the hearing, VA leadership said they recognize the problem, but they're not taking a stance on the bills. The new secretary was just sworn in February.
It is imperative in this very complex issue that we allow the secretary to roll out his vision, his plan, his directive, and so no individual views on the bill specifically, but just a reiteration that the secretary has made toxic exposure a #1 priority.
The legislation would help streamline care to the veterans because it can be hard to prove today what they breathed in years ago.
So that takes the burden of proof off of the veteran.
Graves says he'd consider applying for a VA claim in the future if the bills pass, and thinks the legislation would be a big help.
That's something that needs to be addressed, because who knows how big this will get in the future.
And now efforts are happening to help veterans who continue to deal with the health issues from their service to the country. In Norfolk, Brendan Ponton, News 3.